The Brutal Extreme Triathlon in Llanberis, Wales is widely known as one of the hardest triathlons in the world. The Brutal tagline, in fact, is "All it takes is all you've got." How much have I got? Well, there's one way to find out.
Everything hurts. I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this to prove that I can do difficult things when I don't think I'm in like good shape, so it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what pace you move in, doesn't matter how fast or slow you go in, relentless forward progression. The lead up to this event has been bumpy to say the least. It's all been first world problems, but I've just had injury after injury. It's really set me back in my fitness goals. I've put on quite a bit of weight and I was really questioning whether I was going to be able to do anything really meaningful this year. A couple of months ago, I started to get back into consistent training. I was looking for something to focus on so that I didn't completely lose my way with the sport and being active in general. A couple of my friends have done this event in various guises, so I knew about it. It's not a million miles away. It's actually the last year this event's going to run, so I was just beginning to think you can't guarantee things in life. You don't know when you're going to get the opportunity to do these things, so I put my entry in. I knew I wanted to do it. I knew it was going to be a massive reach as to whether I could do it or not, but I set my goal. It gave me something to train for, and very quickly race day rolled around. So the actual event I'm doing is the Brutal Full. It is roughly an Ironman distance race. It's a 2.4 mile swim in Lake Padarn. It's a 115 mile cycle, including 4 ascents of Penny Pass. And then it's a 25 mile run, including 3 laps around a lake for some hilly and technical terrain. And then a full ascent and descent of Mount Snowdon. Now, lots of those things you can make sense of on paper, but what's on paper does not in any way translate to what is actually in front of you on race day. The course is immense. There are many challenges. I also just want to give note to, there's duathlons, there's a double Ironman, so a double distance to what I'm doing. There's all sorts of events on it this weekend, so well done to anybody who took part in any event. So I've been very fortunate over the last few years to do quite a few big events, thousands of participants in fabulous places. This is a bit different. It's a fabulous place, but there are about 200 starters in total. So the registration and briefing process was just a tent full of people. The racking your bike process on race day morning was just, put your bike wherever you like, and transitions really small, and there's a real community vibe. You can just tell that there are a lot of really experienced ultra athletes who aren't on the internet much, and there's a lot of experience. There's so many cool people I met and spoke to, the marshals and the volunteers who have been involved in this event for years. It really made me start feeling like, wow, this isn't just a random challenge event. This really means a lot to some people, and it was beginning to mean even more to me. So this is the transition area, the change tent. This is like no other transition I've ever seen before. As you can see behind me, everybody's finding their own little space. Some people have got boxes, some people are just putting stuff under chairs. I've opted just to put my stuff in a gap on the floor. I don't think I'm going to need a chair, so that will discourage me from sitting down and therefore making more progress. There's hot food and drinks all around here, refreshments, people fiddling with bikes. We've got about an hour before the race starts, so the anticipation is building. But after the swim, everybody comes in here, gets changed, and then goes and gets on the bike, and then vice versa in transition 2 after the bike. They'll come in here, get changed to go out for the run, then go out on the run. So this is like a hive of activity. You get talking to people who's doing what event, and this is really building the buzz, and I'm feeling the vibe right now. This is my big event for the year, and I'm feeling it a bit now, in honesty. I'm trying to keep cool, but I think I'm a bit like a swan. Conditions are really warm. It's about 19 degrees Celsius, and I say it's 6:30 in the morning. It's going to get hot later on today. That's going to present a lot of challenges for hydration, fueling, and just generally getting through the event. But I've done this sort of thing before, training heat, training cold, so I'm just trying to think about those things that I do and just apply them to this event. Cannot wait to get started. Another big difference with this event is that you are allowed outside support. So I had my partner Liz, who's been a massive support to me in the lead up to this event. She was my right-hand woman. She was going to be giving me food, fuel, motivation, and just generally helping me through the day. So on the morning of the race, she's, you know, fussing around me, making sure I've got all the right things in the right places. That was a real like comfort blanket for me. Liz has seen me at my best and at my worst, and I know that she's a real good gauge of how I am and how I'm doing. And she was just there for me on race day morning. She wasn't like fretting around me, but it was just there when I wanted her, and that was a really, really like big like handhold. I was really grateful for that. We're about 5 minutes away from getting in the water, and you cannot do these sorts of things without some form of support, and this is my support. It is the best in the world. Liz, thank you very much for your help in the lead up to this day and everything that I'm going to be demanding for today. That is Will Draper. Follow his TikTok as well, by the way. Right, I'm going to give this everything I've got. Thank you for your help out there, and have a good day.
Good luck.
Yeah. It felt like I clicked my fingers and we were walking into the lake. Now, as I said, it's a 2.4 mile open water swim, but the specific challenges that this event presents is that the water is very cold. I had to come up to this location 2 weeks prior to recce it to sort of see what I was letting myself in for, and I swam for 4 minutes. I was too cold to continue. It really shocked me, it worried me, and it was something that I was really scared about. So the day before the event, I actually came to the lake. We travelled the day before, and I just spent about 20 minutes acclimatizing in the water. I had a little swim. I felt loads more comfortable. My partner Hubert had kindly sent me some like the don't freeze to death in the swim starter pack of booties, gloves, balaclava, all of that. So I tested all that out, and I felt a whole lot more comfortable. Now on race day morning, it was actually quite warm. It was 19 degrees air temperature at about 6 a.m. The water temperature was still cold, but it wasn't as cold as I'd experienced 2 weeks before. So when I got in the water, I did feel that, oh, thank goodness for that. I don't think this is as difficult as it's been in previous weeks, but then I hadn't swam 2.4 miles in it. So the event's actually a deep water start. I haven't done one of these for a couple of years now. So you swim out 100 or so meters to the start line. I was actually on the front row. It seemed to be that people were leaving it until the last minute to get in, and I've done a lot of racing. I've not done many like adventure challenge events. So I wanted to be on the front line because this is a race, right? So I stood there treading water. They blew the cannon, and that was it. We were underway. I was at the front for about 10 seconds of the swim. My goal for the swim was to get through it. It was to swim at a consistent pace. It wasn't to try and race it or swim hard. I had such a long day in front of me, longer than any like training or race day I've done before. I knew that I couldn't just set out hard on the swim. I needed to take it in. Every breath I took, you're looking up and you're seeing fabulous mountains, you're seeing the low-hanging mist. It was really like giving me chills, figuratively and literally, and I enjoyed it. The swim was 2 laps, and then you got out for an Australian exit, and then 2 more laps. When I got out for the Australian exit, I saw Liz. She gave me a gel. I was trying to get ahead of my fueling for the day. I got back in. I knew that I was swimming steady for me, and I just got it done. Really enjoyed it. Got out of the water, not really knowing what position I was, and not really caring too much for either, to be honest. Just knowing that I'd got it done, enjoyed it, and I began my little jog up to transition. So coming out of the swim, it's about 200 meters from the swim to transition. It's a big tent essentially. So I sort of jogged and walked that. I wasn't in a rush, but equally I didn't just want to stroll up there. Like, there is a race, and me and my support team would quite like to finish before the next day, I think. So I jogged up to the tent, and it is essentially just a big marquee. Everybody's made their own little space. You can put up your area wherever you'd like. I'd made a decision that I didn't want a chair. So there were lots of plastic chairs in the tent, and I had in my mind, because I am motivated by racing, that I don't want a chair, because then you're too comfortable. You sit down, and before you know it, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes has passed, and I'm going to be a long time completing the rest of the event. I don't need to waste time in transitions just sat down. So I didn't have a chair. Now, Now, that was an error because when I got in transition, I was trying to take my wetsuit off. I was a bit dizzy. I was like, falling around everywhere. Liz is trying to hold me up and I'm about twice the weight of her, and it just didn't quite go to plan, but that's just one of those things. I got changed eventually. I left my tri-suit on underneath my wetsuit and I was going to ride the bike in that, put some socks on, dried my hair in my face, a little bit of comfort and a little bit of just, making progress. And before I knew it, I was jogging out into transition and going out on the bike. Again, very different to events I've done in the past in that it's all so close together and you've set up your own zone in the tent and you just put your bike wherever you want in transition, and it's very different, but I was enjoying the more low-key feel of it. I jogged out to the road where the mountain line was and then got on my bike and got underway. So cycling is my biggest strength in the triathlon world, I think, and I was looking forward to the bike ride. Now, I'm not currently blessed with having a great power to weight ratio, but I love riding my bike, and when you've got to do an event where you ride your bike for many hours, that suits me. There have been a few changes to the bike course in the couple of days leading up to the event. There are some roadworks in the town of Llanberis. There are some traffic lights halfway out on the circuit. We had to go down a bike path in Llanberis, and there were just quite a few little changes, and old me, when I just focused on racing, I think I'd have got a bit flappy about that and I would have struggled to process it. I was actually quite relaxed about it. Yep, you have to go down a bike path for a mile or two and you have to take it easy down there. Don't go on the aero bars. Yep, you'll then come to some traffic lights afterwards, and if they're on red, you've got to stop. And all those things, I used to think, I'm in a race. That's how stupid. I'm trying to Actually, it's such a big event and a big challenge. I saw those as opportunities to eat and drink and to just have a minute and to just not get stressed about it. These things take so much energy out of you through mental stress, mental focus, and of course the physical effect. If you begin stressing as well, you're just wasting all that energy and like brain time on those things. So I just took it in my stride, and there were definitely times where I got caught at traffic lights and held for what feels like an age. It's probably 30 seconds, but other times where it was just absolutely flowing. So the bike course itself is 4 laps. It's 115 miles of around 8,000 feet of elevation in total. Goes over Penny Pass 4 times, which is a reasonably big climb. For me, it's between 25 minutes and 35 minutes of climbing. It's quite gradual though, it's not that steep, so you are able to make quite decent progress. And then there's another relatively steep climb 3 or 4 miles into the course. But in summary, not a super challenging course on its own, but as part of the day that I was doing, it was definitely going to bite. Now, my pacing plan for this bike ride is to not try and do anything in a race that I haven't done in training. Thank you, Cam Worth, for that quote. So I'd done a 7-hour ride 3 or 4 times in the last few weeks. I knew I had the fitness to get through this so long as I paced it accordingly. And for the first couple of laps, that's what I did. I was riding well. I was actually going faster than I thought I would. Made some tweaks to my bike and put some new bits on the bike, and I've got race kit on, and all those little things add to your morale and add to your performance as well. So I felt like I was going well. I had Liz on Penny Pass, so she was able to give me bottles on there. I didn't have to stop. The official feed zone was halfway around the lap, but you had to stop and fill your bottles up. And then there was also at the turnaround point of each lap, there was a lay-by in which you could have people with support things there. You're free to have people wherever you like, but they were the most common places. I just didn't want to stop. The actual time I'd lose would be small, but it just added to that attitude of I'm going to make relentless forward progression. That is my race plan. Unless somebody's going to stand in front of me and say, whoa, you can't go, Gandalf, you shall not pass, I'm going to keep moving forward, whether it's fast, whether it's slow. And that was my plan. And little things like stopping to pick up a bottle, to me just conflicted with that. So where possible, I didn't stop at all. I just kept going. I'm out on the bike course on Penny Pass. You can see that behind me. Daniel has completed lap 2 of 4 out on the bike. He's in good spirits, he's looking strong, been quite chirpy when I've seen him so far, which is great. Managed to pass in bottles, so I'm doing my jobs right so far. We did nearly miss him last time though. He did come round quicker than expected, but luckily was there just in time.
It's just gone 12 midday. We're really enjoying the day so far. It's a brilliant event and we look forward to seeing Daniel for the third time.
The first 2 laps, I rode the first lap in 1 hour 39, the second lap in 1 hour 40. I was sticking to my plan, and unfortunately on lap 3, I hit, I'm not going to say the wall, but I definitely had a real tough patch. Now I know through having done a few long events now, you do hit tough patches in any of the 3 disciplines at any point. It might last 5 minutes, it might last an hour, but so long as you keep fueling, hydrating and keep going, you will come out the other side. Now I saw Liz on Penny Pass at the end of the 3rd lap when I was actually like middle of this real rough patch, and I didn't want to worry her, but she said, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "I'm really struggling, to be honest," because that's how I was feeling. And she was like, "Well, keep going, you know, keep pushing and get me the bottles, and you've got 10 seconds to interact, and that's it." So she couldn't really do much more than that. So I got up Penny Pass. It was a lot slower than the lap before, but I was thinking, well, I've got another lap to go now, but I'd be lying if I wasn't saying I was thinking like, am I actually going to get through this? Like you have those mental like, oh, you can't do it, or you've put weight on, or you've not trained enough. All these little demons are all just in your head, and it's really hard to push them to one side. When you're thinking clearly, of course you can, but when you're struggling, it's difficult, isn't it? As you might be able to empathise if you do sport watching this video.
Daniel's just passed. I've just given him 2 more bottles, so he is now finishing lap 3 before he goes on to lap 4. This is the last time though that we'll see Daniel now on the bike until he gets to the finish of the bike. A bit concerned because he did say to me he's going through a really rough patch. He says, "I know it'll pass," but I could just tell with his tone of voice that he really was not happy. Definitely lost that spark that we've seen on previous laps, so I am a bit worried knowing now that he's going to be out for a long time by himself. And although there is a lot of athletes taking part in the events this weekend, it is very lonely out there. They're very spaced out on the roads, so it must be really lonely for them as they're battling the climbs. So hopefully this passes and things get a little bit easier for him. Come on Daniel, we're all behind you.
Now, when I got to the end of the 3rd lap, 2 things happened that were key to me turning around. First thing was, 3 things in fact. Liz gave me a bottle of Coke. Brilliant, works magic. The other thing was, at the turnaround on the 3rd lap, somebody shouted to me, and the guy was the swimmer in a relay team, and thank you very much for this. He shouted to me, "You're 2nd overall, you know, you're flying." And I was like, what? Nah, no way. And he was like, "You're 2nd overall, you're flying." And that really perked me up. All I was thinking the lap before was, oh my God, I've lost so much time. I must be last. I must be like close to the cut-off. I must be like all these little like things which aren't realistic. And that really, I was like, right, I got goose pimples. I felt a little bit emotional. I'm like, I've never been 2nd in a race. Like, this is absolutely nuts. And I know there's such a long way to go, but all of a sudden it gave me something to focus on. Now, I'd done my best to ram loads of food down me and that bottle of Coke and so on. And I think all those things just happened at the same time. And a little bit further down into that lap as well, Liz had actually driven a bit further on the course. She hadn't planned to, but because I'd said I was in a bit of a pickle, she drove further around and stopped at the side of a climb and just said, "We've come to give you one last shout. You've got this, Daniel, you know, keep moving." And I was in a lot better spirits then actually, and I hope she saw that. And that just showed like, you can have one bad lap. So my 3rd lap was 1 hour 56 minutes, and then my 4th lap, I picked it up. I didn't press on at all. I knew I still had a long way to go, and I didn't want to underestimate what that one lap of my legs really hurting has done to me. But I rode about 1 hour 48, I think, something like that. So I really picked it up on that last lap without really trying, just through feeling better. And yeah, it just shows that these things are such a roller coaster. I felt like I'd ridden that wave on the bike, but there's still so much left to go. So coming into the 2nd transition, I was beginning now just to tot up times in my head. I'd had no time goals for this event, but I did want to keep track of how many hours I was out there for. It helps with knowing what to eat and drink, and also just keep a track of how long I'm going to be running in the dark for. So I swam 1 hour and 22 minutes, and my T1 was a few minutes, I don't know how many. And then I biked just over 7 hours, it's 7:03 or 7:04, something like that. So a long time out, 8.5 hours of exercise already, but the best bit was yet to come. Now, in transition to, again, no chair. That actually worked a bit better for that one, to be honest, because I had less to do. So I got into transition, I peeled down my tri-suit. Liz very kindly, for the benefit of everybody else around, put a towel around me whilst I removed my clothes and got changed. It wouldn't have been that impressive at all, I can assure you that. And I got into some running shorts that I've ran lots in, I know they're really comfy. A tech t-shirt that I know, again, is really comfy. A cap that I really like because it's a visor, so you lose heat through the top of your head, but I also stops sweat running my eyes and just keeps the sun out of your eyes and stuff. And I knew that that's the kit I wanted to use, and I had 3 laps, which are 5.2 miles a lap. Now, this lap is broken up into, and this is how I was breaking it down in my head, 2 miles of tarmac on the flat, 1 mile tarmac hill, and then 1.5 miles of up and down off-road rocky technical terrain, and then about 0.5 mile of downhill loose gravel that you could run. So in my head I thought, right, as a minimum I'm going to run that first 2 miles to the hill. I'm then going to jog the hill if I can, and then the next bit is I'm going to walk it if I can, and then I'm going to run the end bit. That was my strategy. When you get off the bike in a triathlon, sometimes you feel amazing and sometimes you don't feel very good at all, and it's almost a complete lottery. I've had some rides where I feel like I've ridden really within myself and felt terrible on the run. Some rides where I feel like, oh my god, I've ridden so hard and I felt great on the run. So you never really know until you take those first few steps. I came out of transition and the first few steps were good. Now, because of the length of the run that I was doing, that doesn't mean run fast. It means, right, you might be able to do this thing. And at that point I was thinking, it's all within my control now. When you're out on the bike, so much is outside of your control. Your bike could go wrong, you could puncture, you could crash, you could completely collapse and not be able to get up the climbs. Whereas on the run, I feel like, man, I had to eat my words later on, surely anybody can walk, surely you can just keep moving. So the first lap I actually ran on my own. Again, you can have outside support, but you couldn't have somebody with you on the run for all of the lake laps. So I had Chris, my friend, coming with me on the second and third lap. I thought that the first lap is probably the one that I'm going to be doing the best and need the least support. So I saved him for the second and third lap, and that was true. So I got the first lap done in about 55 minutes. I felt quite good. I knew that was a good pace for me. The 2 miles on the flat are about 9-minute miling, which I was blown away by, and I just thought, well, that's better than 11 or 12-minute miling. I knew it was going to slip, but that was a good place to start. So the end of the first lap came, Chris joined me, I had another drink, had another gel, I was fueling really well. I was beginning to feel sick, but you do when you're trying to get this much stuff down you, and every time I drank or ate something, I thought, tick, you've got a bit more chance of doing this because you're eating and drinking. If your stomach shuts down, it's pretty much game over. So Chris joined me on the second lap, and that was absolutely brilliant. So he had stories to tell me from what had been happening that day. He had other things to say that from weeks gone past. I haven't seen him for a few weeks. He motivated me on. He just gave me a bit of morale. He opened gates, like all those little things, like really helped. And I felt like, oh, my morale's picked up. And the second lap was a couple of minutes slower, but nothing too major. And I was like, great. This whole thing is like a controlled deterioration. It actually felt controlled. Coming to the end of the second lap, I knew I needed to stop for a toilet stop, so I went to the Portaloo, quick in and out and done. My digestion had been pretty good throughout the day. And then on to the third lap of the run. This is pre-Mount Snowdon. Now, the third lap is where I knew I hadn't trained for this distance. In training, I'd only got up to about 1 hour and 45 of running, and going on to the third lap, I was already on 2 hours. So this was unknown zone, and I said something to Chris like, this is the bit I've not trained for, and that became evident. I still ran the first tarmac bit, but then the hill was bad. It was pretty much all a walk. The bit in the off-road section was a lot slower than the previous lap, and then the last section I ran some of it, but my legs were screaming. I was really in a bit of a pickle, and again I was thinking, this is so hard. I came in on the third lap. I think it took me about 1 hour and 5 or 1 hour and 7. So I was happy that I hadn't lost half an hour, but I had lost a few minutes. I was getting the odd position split or time split from people on the side, and I was still, I think I dropped to 3rd place on the 3rd lap of the run. I was like, wow, I'm on the podium at a brutal extreme triathlon, not where I expected to be, and with Mount Snowdon still to come, I knew that I probably wouldn't be there at the end of it. But again, this was motivational. It kept me pushing. When we got to the end of the lap, you have to get your mountain bag with essential kit in. Liz gave me that. You go and see the medic. They basically check that you're okay. I was like deteriorating quite a lot, and I said to Chris, get me some Coke as soon as I get there. So if I'm necking that and it perks me up a bit, the last thing I want this medic to say, oh, you should perhaps just have 10 minutes, and maybe like a warning flag. Like I was a warning flag, but I wanted to be able to get on the mountain and get going. So we spoke to the medic, he was great, talked us through some things he wanted to talk us through, told us about the weather conditions on the mountain. This event is dangerous, the conditions are changeable, the conditions are tough, and we'd already seen on the bike course, you can be at one side of the course and it's misty and cold, the other side it's 20 degrees and hot, so you have to be prepared for all outcomes. I got my walking poles, I got my head torch, I got my mountain rucksack. I am ready to climb a mountain. Let's go up and down Mount Snowdon. So just an ascent and descent of Mount Snowdon to go. It's about 3,500 feet of elevation and about 9 miles in total distance. I'd climbed Mount Snowdon 2 weeks before and it had scarred me, to be honest. I really struggled just walking it fresh. My legs were in bits for days afterwards, so I knew that that had happened and I was not feeling very good. Now I was eating and drinking still, but I'm just at the point where I'm like maybe 12, 13 hours into this event. I've not trained for this sort of length. I'm not sure anybody can train for that sort of length of event. It was difficult. Now, getting onto the climb, it starts with a steep tarmac section, and using walking poles, they don't really grip very well, and my arms are tired from the swim, and it was just difficult. But all I was thinking was relentless forward progression, and Chris was very good at reminding me of this as well. Doesn't matter what pace you move in, doesn't matter how fast or slow you go in, if you're moving forward, you're going to be taking loads of time on people who are like before the mountain bag check, just sit down for 5 minutes, just have something to eat and drink. Like, you're going to be taking loads of time out of those. So that was my plan, just to keep moving forward regardless of the pace. Now, this was actually brilliant on Snowdon. Although it was really tough and it was getting dark and colder and I was absolutely on the limit, you're coming across people who are either on the way up or on the way down, and you're having a quick little interaction with them, and I was so enjoying it. People saying they're in the duathlon or in the half or in the whatever they were doing, just to have that and share that moment with these other competitors was absolutely brilliant. They're all out there for their own goals, you're there for yours, you're racing some of them, but they're still supporting you and vice versa. The spirit within this community is absolutely brilliant.
So I think we're just over halfway up now, hopefully, please somebody tell me now. And oops, in the slowest foot race known to man, I've just been passed for third place. We think it's so hard to follow this sort of thing, and as I say, I'm not motivated by the position I finished. I'm just clutching at straws for motivation from anything. I think you can be, extrinsically motivated or intrinsically motivated. I'm really at the minute intrinsically motivated. I'm doing this for me. I'm doing this to prove that I can do difficult things when I don't think I'm in good shape. So it doesn't matter. That guy was flying. He jogged past us and then I just slowly pulled away walking. It's really not a thrilling race, is it? But this is difficult. The temperature's dropping, we're losing the light. I think it's going to be dark before we get to the top. That's going to add another element of pressure, but we wanted to do a good day out, didn't we, boys? So yeah, it's going to keep ticking each step off. It gets quite tough in a few minutes at the steepest bit, so let's get it done. This is top speed. Believe it or not, everything hurts. White is just struggling to hang on, but
Now, I'm the sort of guy that whenever I go out for a bike ride, I have the route loaded on my computer. I like to know how far we're going, where the cafe stop is, all those sorts of things. So going up Mount Snowdon, I didn't have the route or anything on my watch, and I know where to go. It's basically just go uphill. But what I was struggling with was how long left have we got? Are we a quarter of the way in yet? So I'm asking Chris and camera guy Chris, what percentage in do you think we are? And they're like, 30%, 40%. It's really hard to gauge, but I was trying to find anything to motivate me on, because, and this, I'm in no way exaggerating this for the video, I was really struggling. I was being passed by people coming up, I was seeing people coming down who were running, and I was just thinking, there's no way I've got that in me. Like, I am not experienced enough, and I feel like my legs are going to drop off. Like, I'm absolutely on the limit here. I'm only doing what I can. When I was losing places on the climb, I wasn't getting frustrated because I knew I was giving all I could get. There was one point where a guy came past and I was like, oh, what event are you doing? He said, I'm doing the full. I was like, oh, nice one, man. You know, have a great race. Thinking, oh, there's a position gone. Whereas actually I'm like, well, I'm doing everything I can to try and get up and down this mountain. It almost becomes like you can't control it. You just got to keep going. So I was still eating, drinking, and Chris were a great support. We were getting closer and closer to the top. Eventually, the ascent took about an hour and 45, 2 hours.
We're still on the way up. We're not actually there yet. I don't know what else I've got to update you on. We are nearly there, I think. So the guys are telling me, but it is dark. Oh, I'm like pot committed now. There's absolutely no chance of not doing it. You're like too far in. What an event though. Where in the world do you get to do a triathlon doing, you know, places like this? I know there are a few, but like, you know, in the UK, again, I know there are a few, but awesome.
You see a couple of medics on the way up, so they're making sure you're okay, so you tell them your number, they obviously have a quick chat with you just to make sure you're okay. They're not asking you, are you okay? They're talking to you, and obviously they're making the assumption, are you okay? And then we got to the top of Snowdon, and there was another medic there, and he was like, you know, talked through, great, well done, got your number, right, you're free to go. You can either go another 30 meters to the top, or you can turn around here. Now, when we came and wrecked Snowdon, as I said, it really scarred me, and I really struggled, and we didn't go right to the top because there was a queue for all the Instagrammers to take photos. There wasn't a queue at that time of night. It was probably like 9 o'clock at night. I was like, we're going to the top, we're getting this done. So we did another, you know, couple of minutes of walking to the top, touched the thing at the top, had a moment at the top with my support team who supported me throughout the day. I know Liz wasn't there, she was obviously, you know, down in Llanberis, but just like embraced it a little bit and just thought, yes, I'm literally on top of a mountain right now. That is cool. Let's get down the damn thing.
Come on. Yes. Oh, let's do it. Let's get back down there. I've never been so happy to get to the top of a hill. Oh, I'm glad we've done this little extra bit. We could have cut this bit off, but the medics didn't come up if we want to. Extra 20 meters. Right, coming. Oh my God.
Now, I also kidded myself into the fact that, or your race finishes at the top, all you got to do is get down there, and anybody can do that. It was hard coming down. My legs were absolutely screaming. It was slippy. I was tripping lots. I did hope to do some running, but I just did absolutely none. I was that clumsy, and I was stumbling, and I didn't want to, like, you know, break bones for the sake of a position or two. So I just walked down. If I'm honest, I felt bad that I'm like dragging it out, and my support team were out later, and there's a few people like waiting at the finish for me, which is absolutely nuts. And I thought, well, they're going to be out longer than they're planned to be, but I could do no more. I knew I just had to keep going, and this really did take me to like a new level of how much can you push. When you think you're done, you're not done. There's some studies saying something like when you think you're fatigued or finished, like you're only actually at 30% of your capacity, and it's all mental. And I can see those things now, because I think, although I think I was absolutely done then, well, what if the climb was another kilometre long? Could I have done it? Maybe. Was it 2 kilometres longer? So like you don't really know until you find out.
I'm almost feeling like this is a bit of a celebration, but isn't it? Like, we feel like it, you know, it's done. Just got to not let camera guy Chris trip up backwards down this hill. But it's still hard. It's getting a lot warmer as we get down towards sea level, and as we've been coming down, we've been passing people going up and being passed by people coming down, and that little interaction you get about, oh, what event are you doing today? How are you going? You see people have like made friends along the way, and they're doing this together, like on the climb. It's so cool to see. Anybody who's done any event today, very well done to you. Awesome stuff. I passed one guy on the bike earlier today, and, you know, a lot of conversation with you when I pass people. I really enjoy it. He said it's his first ever event he's done the duathlon. Wow, so yeah, fair play. And yeah, met some right characters today, it's awesome. Wow. I don't know how, and I absolutely tip my hat off to anybody who's like running down here or run walking, or even walking with purpose. Like, so good to be able to be strong enough this late in. It's absolutely so impressive. Because I could be 10 metres away from first place right now, and there's not a single thing I could do about it. We're nearly here, Chris.
We are.
We're nearly here. The finish is just around this corner. I don't think I'm going to get emotional, but I've definitely.
Liz better cry though, better she?
Yeah, you're right.
Someone needs to cry.
Somebody needs to cry.
Even if it's about
It might be white if times I have to wait for me.
yeah, you're flicking yourself in the eyes. So much we need tears.
I didn't want to run the finish line. I wanted to soak it up. I wanted to enjoy it. We'd been out running and walking for nearly just over 7 hours. So it was nearly a 16-hour day, and that is a long old day out. And I got to the finish line. Liz joined me to walk down the finish line. We held our arms up over the finish line. It's something we've done at many events in the past. And I just feel like, hopefully, it's a little bit of a reward for her for supporting me for months and months, and then having a super long day supporting my demanding needs throughout an event. Probably not great repayment, but we shared that moment. I felt like that sense of achievement. I felt the community of the people there, the marshals, the volunteers, and the person giving me my medal said that he'd done the event in the past, and it just really felt like, wow, this is a cool thing to be a part of. Again, very different events I've done before. There's 1,000 people at the finish line and they're cheering for everybody, and this was a very low-key affair, and of course it was dark, but yeah, I just felt like, thank God I've got that done for one. But also I do feel like now that's given me a lot more confidence that if you don't think you're in the best shape, or if you don't think you've trained properly, or if you think you're overweight, or any of these things, you can still do difficult things. You just have to put your mind to it. I'm by no means an expert, but that was my goal for this event. It was to reiterate to myself that just because you don't think you're in the best shape you can be in, you can still do things that are quite difficult. So I finished in, I'm going to forget the time now, I think it's 16 hours-ish. In 8th position overall, but it really isn't about that. It's about that I got to the finish line. I shared it with some amazing people. Well done to everybody else who took part in the event. It was an absolute pleasure to share the race course with so many awesome people. And I'm not going to say I'll be back because the event's not happening in future, unfortunately. Am I going to do anything else like this? I'd have to give it real thought, because I'm not kidding. Like, standing here recording this video right now is tough. It's the day after the event. You can't underestimate this sort of thing, and I'm definitely going to give it more respect in future. Not that I didn't respect it, but give it more preparation in future. But yeah, the Brutal Triathlon, complete it, mate. I'm sure there might be a with thanks to end credits screen roll thing going right now, but I wanted to make it a little bit more personal, because it honestly has taken an army to get me to this start line, and I am so grateful. Firstly, and most importantly, Liz, with me day in, day out, supports me through all my harebrained ideas to do this sort of thing. Thank you very much. Camera guy Chris behind the camera. There's not many videographers who would come up and down Snowdon who would do like a 18-hour day to follow some chump doing a stupid long triathlon. So thank you very much to Chris Wilson Visuals. If you're looking for any videography or social media support for your business, he is the man. My partner on the channel, Hoop supply me with all my triathlon related kit, but it's more than that. When I spoke to them about my cold recce, they sent me all the cold weather stuff. They actually care that you know, do these sorts of things, and they're a great bunch of people. I only work with great people, so thank you very much for all the support they give me on the channel and behind the scenes. NRG Chains have been partnered with me on this channel for 4 or 5 years now. They've also seen me like fit and not fit, and they still support me all the same. And there's a lot of things that make a difference, like having a freshly waxed race chain on race day. Yes, it's going to make me a little bit faster, but like that morale of looking down and seeing that gold chain, brilliant. So yeah, so grateful for that. Veta wheels have come on board recently, giving me a super set of wheels. They rode really well on race day. They're wide, they're smooth, I can ride low pressure tyres. It really has genuinely helped me get through the day. And then finally, Clint from Easy Gains, who supported me with a disc wheel cover, chain ring cover. I've known Clint for years. I want to support him in his business. The product is the gains without the cost. I like the tagline, I like the ethos of it. It really aligns with like my own values, and all those things again are people behind the brands. Clint's been messaging me this week saying like, you know, come on mate, you can do it, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm honestly blown away. The support as well from you guys and girls, messages on Instagram, emails, I've had all sorts of weird and wonderful messages from all different areas. Honestly, it absolutely blows me away. I always get the imposter syndrome thing of, oh, I don't deserve this, but I'm so grateful, because it really does genuinely motivate me on to do the events for one, but also make videos about it. I love investing time, energy, money into this sort of thing in the hope that it's going to motivate you to take on your own challenge, because you can do it.